Batman 107, James Tynion the fourth, with Jorge Jimenez on the art, continuing our Scarecrow arc that we kicked off with Mayor Nakano and all the other things going on. But
I was supposed to look something up, and now you just reminded me. So you do this. I'm gonna look this up.
I do this. Okay, I do this. I review comic book. I enjoyed the last issue quite a bit, and I think this one kind of continues a lot of what it's doing. I think my favorite thing about this arc so far is that it's really trying to build an atmosphere that Scarecrow's making the entire city afraid, and that everyone's on edge. And we hear about how he didn't even have to use gas. All he did was put a crappy old Scarecrow in the mayor's mansion, and all of a sudden everyone's losing their freaking minds because everyone's high strung. Everyone's worried that there's going to be another gas attack. Everyone's buying gas masks. That kind of atmosphere that they're building here, I really like, and it's got the things that I enjoy too. It's got Oracle interacting with Batman, being the person on the earpiece. We're building up to however Batman gets captured, because we're getting these teases at the start of each issue of him under Scarecrow's control, basically in a gimp suit, tied to a chair. And the end of this issue might even imply how he eventually gets there, because he's going to go undercover as Matches to infiltrate this unsane group that are sort of rising. But a lot of this issue is Batman investigating the crime scene of the Scarecrow in the mayor's mansion. Renee Montoya sort of having a bit of a standoff with him, saying that he has to go and stop corrupting the crime scene. This actually played very well, because I read this after I read the next Batman issue, and it's actually I didn't realize that the next Batman book was going to be set solidly in present day.
Yep. So I read this before I read next Batman, and I do like how they reinforce each other. It's that continuity stuff that
there's a lot of shared universe continuity going on in general, I think, and that not just in the Bat corner of the books either. I was feeling it in Green Lantern this week as well, and a couple other things. The editorial are doing a good job right now of making everything feel kind of cohesive, which I appreciate. So no, it's cool. Everything's kind of helping build the status quo, and it's one of those things where you hear certain things often enough that it becomes ingrained in your mind. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about the fact that Montoya's the commissioner. You don't have to think about the mayor's. I've just forgotten his name. Completely Nakano. Thank you. You start to build those things, or saying, or all these other things that go on. So you have all these other books kind of reinforcing these key little details, and it really starts to feel like it's become the status quo. Did you enjoy the Harley Quinn sequence in the middle of the issue?
I did. Because it is a Harley that she's not too zany, and she's actually trying to do good. So it's not like this. For the purposes, she's an anti-hero because she is working with Batman, right? But she's also standing against what the Gotham police are doing, right? So this inmate that she recognizes from her time in Arkham is having a breakdown, and he actually needed to be in Arkham because he has these issues, not just because he fell in with the Joker. And she's trying to explain this to the police, but all they see is Harley Quinn in a clown.
Yeah. Right? Also, they keep calling, or he calls himself Stabbo, I think it was.
Stabbo.
And Harley's like, "That's a terrible name." I do like how Harley refers to herself as the Girl Wonder. I thought that was a nice touch. But yeah, the police just immediately assume that she's working with him because she's refusing to leave. And Ghostmaker shows up, and I do also love that she calls him Ghostface, because I have made that mistake multiple times myself.
Well, the more I see of Ghostface / Ghostmaker, the less I like him. And I maintain this is the intent from Tynion, or else I have to reevaluate some things, because he's every trope in Batman that I hate, and we'll get to that more in the backup.
Sure.
But I feel like that's the point of him right now, is that Bruce has to restart as this Batman, where we saw in the last issue, in Detective, he's making a cave in the sewers, and he's basically starting from nothing and building himself back up, whereas Ghostmaker still has all the tech, all the technology, and all this other stuff, and it's almost annoying there's nothing he can't do. So the fact that he's getting to interact with Harley and his presence in Gotham is another nice piece of synergy.
He rescues her out of there. She leaves a note on Stabbo's face saying he needs his meds, because Dr. Harley said so. I don't know why I said that like Stone Cold, but
Yeah.
but there's a tease of this character, and I was like, who the hell is this character with the rose? And what I do appreciate here is that the backup actually answers this, and like, okay, this is going to be a character in the backup that's related to Ghost Maker. I almost said Ghostface. I had to stop myself. So that's a neat touch. I want to say I do really enjoy the art in this book. I think the colors are exceptional, but like, you know, I turned the page here and it goes to the clock tower, and that glowing orange light of the clock face on the sort of the muted greens of the actual room and the the interior is really nice. And this is a weird thing to say, but because there's a lot of greens and like muted colors in the monitors and the ambient lighting, it really makes Barbara's ginger hair stand out.
Yeah.
She really pops.
I'm so glad that we were getting her regularly. Like, there's no Batgirl book right now, so
yes,
but she's still popping up here, so I'm very happy.
the funny thing about her being Oracle again is that she kind of can pop up regularly in multiple books, as if, and we don't even have to think about it. She may actually have more of a presence overall as Oracle as she ever would have in a solo Batgirl book. That said, Batgirls with Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain. I still want it, DC. Thank you, please. But yeah, so she's explaining to him this unsane group that they don't seem particularly dangerous, at least not yet. Their goal ultimately is somewhat noble, but it's kind of, you know, cult-like and all the rest of it. Maybe my favorite page of the book is Batman walking away from her at the end of the scene, when she says, "Oh, maybe the only way to figure out what's going on and who the leader is to join them." And he's walking away, kind of in silhouette with the lights, hitting his shoulder. Really beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Saint, who's still developing his stuff. They mentioned Sean Mahoney, who's one of the characters who was in the Future State stuff, so they're sort of teasing some of that building.
Yeah, he was also in the Infinite Frontier. He's the one that, survived the Joker fear toxin gas, whatever it was.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And again, talking about, I love when comics can do these moments where the panel at the bottom of this page where Saint is it's the reflection of him in the glass, so it's all the night lights over his face. I really dig that stuff. But yeah, Scarecrow comes to see him and talks about you want to build your magistrate. We have to make Gotham scared enough and blah 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 blah. So
what I like too about what Tynan's kind of saying here is like, all you need for an authoritarian takeover is a little bit of fear. Once people get afraid, they're willing to throw away their rights and right into the hands. And so from Future State, we've already seen the worst case scenario, so we know the stakes. And yeah, just this whole version of Scarecrow, I really dig. And that's what I had to look up because I always forget the number. But like one of my favorite Batman stories of all time is called Absolute Terror. And it's a two-parter from Detective Comics, where basically it's this version of Scarecrow, where the inmates of Arkham kind of challenge him that he's nothing without his fear gas or his fear toxin. So he goes on a reign of terror throughout Gotham in the same way where he's planting like seeds of fear with, in that story, it's not necessarily scarecrows in the mayor's office or home, but he's doing like serial killer stuff, abducting people and all this. And so anytime we can get that version of Scarecrow, I'm a big fan of. And here, just the way that he's standing on that rooftop when he goes to see Simon Saint, it is creepy. Like, Jimenez really, really had it here.
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things about this Scarecrow design is that the contrast, the night lights behind him, the city night lights behind him, the contrast between him, where he's, in this raggedy clothing, the straw hat with the gas mask, he's very steampunk, kind of, lo-fi in his feeling, but you've got this sort of modern city behind him. He really sticks out. Yeah. And the colouring obviously adds to that a lot, because you've got a lot of blues and purples in the background, and he's got like more sort of yellows and browns on his costume. But
it's the color wheel theory, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, straight up. And then there's Cliffhanger where, Bruce goes as Match. Not Match, it just says Match at the end.
Right.
But it's the same idea, to infiltrate the Unsane.
He's very Gordon-esque.
He does look very Commissioner Gordon, actually, you're right.
So,
he's,
That cracked me up.
he's like, Barbara, I'm going to cosplay as your dad. Where does he get his mustache groomed? I got to try this.
Yeah. But I do enjoy Barbara as the de facto Alfred now. Like, it fits her because to me, you can't have Batman or the Bat family without Alfred. So she is now the, like you said, she can pop up in any Bat themed book and it feels right because she has the Watchtower, Clock Tower, whatever we're calling it now. And I'm always down for matches Malone, or match in this case.
Yeah, I think what I'm digging about this sort of, and I'm talking about this run, but I don't necessarily mean the whole run. I kind of just mean these last two issues because this is where we've switched to monthly, and we've kind of started the post Infinite Frontier part of the run, and it does kind of feel like, even though obviously he set up Ghostmaker before, and obviously there's like mentions of the Joker War occasionally and stuff, it does kind of feel like, because we know that Tynion only had X number planned, and then he was told, oh, it's going to be a longer run, and now he's just on the book sort of for X amount of time, and he's got like longer plans now and stuff, but this kind of feels like more like it is kind of the start of the proper run in a weird way, where it was supposed to be this shorter thing before, and now it's going to be this longer form thing. And I think what sticks out to me about these two issues so far is that it's done a really good job of having this main plot going on with multiple elements and multiple supporting characters. Montoya, the mayor, Saint, Barbara, the the Insane Group.
The Insane Group and Master Wise and...
But it's also got these like running subplots, right? So not only do you have whatever Batman is doing and the fear that Scarecrow's got in the city, but this Harley Quinn plot that's sort of running through is relatively separate right now. But it's engaging on its own, and it's kind of like, okay, how's this going to then tie into things as we go? Or even just, the building up the villain side with Scarecrow and Saint together and sort of that stuff building and bubbling. It's doing a good job of feeling like a nice serialized story that has multiple lanes that are traveling. One of the things that I think comic books can sometimes fall victim to, and this definitely happened a lot in New 52, was it would be a little bit too singular, and there wouldn't be sub-characters, there wouldn't be running side plots, and you can get over stuff with that stuff, don't get me wrong, but it does feel kind of naked without it, and I like that this Batman book feels like there is a breathing Gotham, and obviously the other Bat books kind of add to that and make it filler. But
this is the type of Gotham that I got into when I first got back into comics. Whereas I always say it, and I'm probably like a broken record at this point, where you don't have to be reading everything, but if you are, it makes it feel like a tangible world. And we got that a lot in Future State with the Gotham side of things, whereas you were able to piece together the puzzle. And I feel like here with Detective, even though they're telling two different stories, it still feels like it's the same Gotham. Whereas I felt like you just brought up the New 52. Whereas whatever was going on in Detective felt isolated from whatever Snyder was doing in Batman, until they would have a crossover, like the Death of the Family, or what was the other crossover? Was it Night of the Owls?
Yeah, Court of the Owls, Night of the Owls, whatever.
Yeah, that came back to back, but then they'd go back off of their separate ways. But I definitely enjoy this because you even brought up the next Batman where it's still the same Gotham.
Yeah, it still feels like the same world, yeah. And even the other things that are a little bit a bit more tangential in terms of like the characters, but even the Red Hood story, the Grifter story, and these other books that have been popping up, or the backups or whatever, they all feel like they're inhabiting the same Gotham. And it's just simple little things like all of them referencing the same mayor, or referencing the same commissioner, or referencing just this A-Day, this Arkham thing that happened with the gas. Like, that's been referenced in multiple books now, and talking about how there's like unrest because of it. It does feel like there's this breathing Gotham like going around that's been established through all the books. It's really good editorial stuff. And when it's done well, like I think it is here, it feels rewarding to be reading all the books you enjoy in that corner of the world. And
definitely,
to be fair, they're all pretty much good right now. I don't think there's not any bad Gotham books right now. I don't think. Can't think of any.
No. I mean, no, because you wouldn't count Nightwing as a Gotham book, right? Because it's...
Well, I would, but that's amazing now.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, like, are we counting that in there? Or are we just strictly talking Batman, Detective, Urban Legends?
I mean, it's a neighboring location, and it still features Babs and the other characters that'll sort of cross. So I guess I kind of would, even though it's not in Gotham itself. But
Right.
but I mean, we give that still a score. So Nightwing's good now. So
Yeah, of course.
so we're all yeah. So I guess it's a really good time, unless for some reason you just don't connect with Tynan's writing, or you don't connect with whoever else, maybe
Which
Tamaki.
I get irritated sometimes by his Batman early on, like reading it. But since then, since really Joker War kind of wrapped up, it's
Well,
been pretty consistent.
what's so funny about comics is that there is definitely a very subjective thing where sometimes someone will just not like a writer, right? And Connor sometimes opposes it a little bit. For the most part, we have kind of similar tastes, not always
Mhm.
identical, but fairly similar. And I get that it's frustrating. I know some people listen to what we say about a certain writer on a certain book, and they'll be baffled as to why we're praising something or hating something. And then the flip side will be the opposite when they end up loving something, and then we just don't want to read it. It just it happens sometimes.
Right.
And it's the funny thing is though, but you become very established in your taste, where you learn after several attempts that, like, okay, I really don't like this writer, or I really don't like this artist, or whatever. And it's kind of funny that at least right now everything Gotham related seems to be firing on all cylinders. Now, admittedly, we're only like this is only the second month of Infinite Frontier. How long will it feel like this? I don't know, but at least right now things are feeling quite good. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's neat. So yeah, main story. I think it advances all the plot lines. I'm loving the teasing of the Scarecrow stuff and the stuff with Batman. So I guess we should rate the main story, Matt.
Yeah. Between the art by Jimenez and the story that's going on, I have to give this high, so I'm going to go with an 8.5.
I think we're going to stretch it to the 9, honestly.
Well, there you go.
It's not like a standout issue compared to other ones that have the Nightwing issue with the big emotional beat, or it's not like something super important went down. But this to me was exactly what I want out of like a middle issue of an arc. This was it advanced everything. I'm enjoying all the threads. Art was gorgeous. So that's to me, as far as what I want the standard to be of an ongoing Batman book, this was basically it. This is an example. So for that, I give it the 9. That's it. We have a backup to talk about. We have the first part of this Ghost Maker arc that's going to be in the backups for the next little while, and we get Ghostmaker. Obviously, this is set present day. This is when he's operating on his own, and he's got his fancy private jet. He seems to have just had a threesome with a big bearded man and a woman, and then he is never going to see them again, and he's got a mission to do. He drops from his plane in his outfit onto this island. This is Ricardo Lopez Lopez Ortiz, sorry, on the art.
Yeah.
Along with Tynan, who's still writing the backup. And this character we teased in the main book, the one with the rose. She is the leader here. This is her island. She's brought a bunch of metas and villains. This is Madame Midas. Is this a pre-existing character? I'm not familiar with this character.
I think these are all new.
These are all new, yeah.
Which I give Tynan a lot of credit for, because these are, you can tell he had fun creating these characters.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I will say he peaks early, because those first two that are introduced together in that first page are easily the ones I like the most, which is the Instigator, who's a Killer Croc-esque looking sumbitch, but
magically transformed martial artist and terrorist, which he also talks about going up against the Great 10. So he must, be situated in China somewhere. But just the name, Instigator, and he's a gigantic alligator monster.
Yep. Also, the fact that he's martial artist, like, I want to see him do martial arts stuff. Let's do this. And then Razorline, who's the one who's sitting with them, who's unspeakable, otherworldly horror, as it just captions him. And all he says is, "I would not mind getting another slice of him for my collection," is what he says. So he's just like a complete up sort of deranged serial killer by the looks of it. But yeah, so Madame Midas is pissed because Ghostmaker, who she points out that none of the American superheroes know she exists, because she wants it that way. She wants to be under the radar, but Ghostmaker's been interfering in her affairs. So for that, she's arranged everyone who has ever sort of fought him and survived. We have Kid Kiwi, we have Brainstorm on the
Kid Kawaii.
kawaii. Sorry.
Yeah, I know kawaii is a Japanese term for something that's overtly cute.
Ah, okay.
You know, yeah. So that's why you have this, kid robot. So it says ferrofluid assassination robot. So of course she's unassuming, right? Like,
Sure.
it's a little girl, but she's a robot that'll murder you.
And then Brainstorm's a telekinetic individual. Right. So basically, they're all pissed because she's essentially lured Ghostmaker here by essentially almost announcing that they're all here and like giving Ghostmaker a tracker to come find them. Not she didn't literally hand it to him. She sort of like laid the breadcrumb for him, but right. They can all follow his movements. So they actually see a hologram of him landing on the island, so they know he's here. So the deck's stacked against them in that they have a complete like knowledge, a live feed of where he is, what he's doing at any given time, and maybe this is where the problem's going to be, is that he's going to be far too good at everything where he's going to overcome this. This is almost the John Cena cell of this character, where he's just going to be amazing at everything, and that's going to be a thing. Anyway, the cliffhanger though is after he's landed, there's robot tigers with laser eyes attack him, and that's the ending. Do you know what I almost feel with this, bizarrely? It kind of feels to me a little bit like the Robin one, where this doesn't feel at the end of an issue. It feels like halfway through an issue.
Yeah. It was almost like a Ghostmaker one shot that they split up.
Yeah. But it's more than 2 parts though, so which is why it's interesting to me that this feels like halfway through an issue. I wonder, maybe just like Tyni's not used to doing these 10-pagers, so he effectively maybe wrote like a 3-issue thing that's going to be split into 6 parts over 6 issues. I don't know how that's going to be, but
maybe, I don't know. He got to start doing backups, so maybe
he did.
Exactly
that's true. That's true.
But no, it did feel like I expected more when the Laser Tigers came out. At least finish that fight. But
it kind of feels like, yeah, it's like they're building a cliffhanger, like an issue-ending cliffhanger out of a moment that doesn't feel like an issue-ending cliffhanger. So when it says to be continued, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
To be continued. All right. Obviously, I mean, the rating's fine. I like the villains for the most part. They're kind of fun, seemingly. Laser Tigers definitely gives you a sense of the tone and the maybe the more, the less serious vibe that it wants to give off. How did you feel about the art?
I think it's fine. It's not like my favorite, but it fits the character. It's very anime-esque where it needs to be, or manga-esque, I guess, since it's sequential and not animated.
It does feel a little. It feels like it belongs next to Jimenez style. Like there's definitely some parallels, I think, between them.
It's definitely not as refined as Jimenez, though.
Oh, for sure.
Like it has a sketchier quality, and I mean that like sketch art, not that it's bad.
But it feels kind of in the similar genre of style, if that makes sense. Whereas, instead of like, because sometimes you go to the backup and it'll be like, oh, you went from someone that looks like Gary Frank to someone who looks like Riley Rosmo, and it's like a completely different style.
There's no whiplash.
Yeah,
it flows. It flows.
Which, I mean, I don't know if it needs to flow. I mean, it is a backup, so it is kind of fine if it is completely different. But in this particular case, it is kind of comparable. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's okay. I think the biggest problem with it, I think, right now is that it's entirely designed to sell us on how good Ghostmaker is. At least that's what it feels like right now. And as of yet, I don't think we are convinced.
No. He's one of the more annoying creations, to me at least. And people might out there love him. Like, great, I'm happy for you. Like, I did like the whole swerve with the guy and the girl, because it's just like Ghostmaker does what he wants, So I do like that vibe. Although the art, the guy kind of looked like Caliber from the Outsiders art.
I thought that too. I actually thought it was going to be Caliber and tie into the Outsiders stuff, and then it never mentioned it. So he just happens to have the same look. Yeah.
So I kind of like that it establishes his vibe real quick, which is nice because that's what we have experience with him. But yeah, he's that character that's too good at everything, and it's hard to get behind him. It was kind of more fun when he was the antagonist to Batman in that, in that stuff. So,
I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but
well, I like the balance between the two, because anytime you can make me root for Batman because the other person's more Batman than him, than, because I hate the Bat-God. We all know this. Where, there's nothing that Batman can't do with enough planning, and it's just like, that makes for boring stories, you know? But I definitely feel that that's the point of Ghostmaker, it's maybe he gets himself a little too over his head or whatever here, and there's a little bit of humility at the end. Who knows? But I'm here for it. I've definitely read worse backups since Infinite Frontier. So
You have? What was the really bad one?
I wouldn't say worse, stuff that I wasn't digging on. So like some of the Midnighter stuff.
Okay.
Just
because I was just thinking, I don't think there's been any
Yeah.
disasters in the backups yet.
Mm-mm.
I can think of.
But like, where's the Midnighter one? I kind of skimmed it and was like, meh. This, I'm like, well, I need to know how he defeats the Laser Tigers. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read the next backup. Admittedly, I'm not even close to I love the main part of the book. The backup was like, yeah, this is fine. I'm not
Right.
super into it.
It feels like a backup, right? Like it just has that. Not that that makes it any less, but it's just not as big as that Gotham story, So.
Yeah. All right. Were you reading the whole book?
Book as a whole, I'm gonna give an 8.
I will do a similar thing and go down to an 8.5 for the overall book. Because obviously the main story weighs way more in my rating.
Of course.
I mean, the backup on its own, it's just like a 6.5, maybe a 7, something in that range is fine.